Hi, my amazing artists. Today in this video we are going to learn how to make a collage of our skeleton Day of the Dead animals. So you're going to get to choose a cat or a dog, and we're just going to be making the skeleton part of our collage today. Collage is a method artists sometimes use. It can be taking similar objects such as paper and putting them and gluing them together. It can be taking multiple different materials like fabric and paper and paint and things like that and putting it all together. But we're just going to be using paper. We're going to be using today white and black and some scissors and glue today, and you'll want a pencil. So our first step is we want to create like what would be like the spine of our animal, and it's just going to be like a vertical line that's about the width of your finger, and think about it, it's about halfway on the page. So I'm going to just come here and I'm going to draw like an oval . That is roughly about the thickness of my finger and about halfway on the page. And then you can cut that out, which is right on your pencil line. So now we're going to end up gluing on the pencil side. So because we don't want to see the pencil. So you can see there how you can see my pencil. I don't want to see that when I glue it down. So I'm going to put the glue on that side. And I'm just going to put a couple times of glue on there. And I'm going to place it roughly in the middle of my paper and have it touching the bottom. And press it down flat. Now we're going to create those vertebrae and ribs. And so you can see here, this one is smaller and they're slowly going to get bigger. And these are again are ovals, but they're just going to be horizontal. So I'm going to start up here and I'm going to just draw like a tiny one here. And then a little bigger one. A little bigger one, and then this one's going to be close the same size. So again, they're about 1 finger's width for inside. And then I'm going to draw 3 like smaller ones, similar to like that size that ends up at the top. I'm going to cut these out. I'm going to first just cut this out to make it easier to cut and not have that big piece of paper. So again, just cutting right on our pencil line. And if you miss it by a little bit, that's okay. Because again, we're gluing that side down so we don't see that. Okay, now that I've got all of those like little bones cut out, my 3 little ones are going to go towards the bottom, but these are going to slowly get bigger as they move. So I'm going to first take this one, and you want to make sure that they're a little wider than this here. So not much. So I'm going to start at the very top, put my glue at very top. So like if this was the same size and not hanging off either end, I would want to cut out another one to make sure that it was big enough. Same thing like with these. Like they, see how like that, this one, it's like the same size. So I would want to cut out one just a little bit bigger, a little longer, so it overhangs a little bit more. That's a little better. So then I'm going to take this one here, put glue on the back. I'm going to place it right here with a little bit of space in between. Do the same thing here so you can see I'm leaving a little bit of space in between each one. Press those down flat. Now I'm going to take those 3 smaller pieces and place them at the bottom with a bigger space in between here. So I leave a little bit of the bigger space. Last one going down right at the very bottom. Pressing those down, making sure they're nice and flat. Now my next step is I'm going to create the arms or front legs of our skeleton. We're not going to see all 4 legs of our animal. They're just going to be these 2 front legs. And as you can see, you've got like these little kind of dips down in the bones. So my first step is I'm going to draw this bone here, and it's going to be round, and then it's going to have that like little dip like that. I'm going to make another one. Going to be a little bit bigger, and it's going to have that kind of smile or U and then the frown at the bottom. And then I'm going to make another one that's going to be a little smaller than this one. Now, if you want, because these bones should be kind of identical on both sides, you can always fold your paper in half. I'm actually going to redraw that spot a little bit. There. It's a little bit too smiley. So, because we're going to need both bones twice, I'm just going to fold my paper in half and cut it out, so that now I have 2. So I've got my legs, and now we're going to make the tail. Because the bones overlap a little bit there, we're going to end up gluing the tail down first, but we're going to make that tail. So you can grab whatever piece you've got kind of left that's a little longer, and start. I like to just kind of start at the bottom and just come up, kind of with a curve towards the left, and then come down and make it a little bit bigger towards the bottom. And then cut it out. Alright, so now we can begin to glue this down, but we're going to first lay it out so we know roughly where we're putting things. So I'm going to put my tail roughly there, and if we have to, we may have to trim it a little bit to have it fit right. So this is like that shoulder, the one that's rounded at the top, that's that shoulder. I put that there. And this is like your elbow. Right? Is it my longer one? Nope, my longer one's my elbow. And then that shorter one, so you may need to move them a little bit around. I'm going to actually cut this kind of on a diagonal, like that, so it fits better with my bones. And I'm going to leave a little bit of space in between each of my arm bones. So I'm going to take my shoulder, put it up here, put like that elbow, and then now that I've got those laid out, now I can glue them down. So put glue on that pencil side, and now I'm going to glue that, press it flat. That one down there, and if some of it hangs off the edge, that's okay. We can always trim that part off. Now remember, I'm going to be gluing this down here to my piece. Let's see if I accidentally cut it the wrong way. That's okay. We'll just erase my pencil. So if that happens, like I just did, I ended up cutting it on the diagonal the wrong way. That's okay. Just take your eraser and erase any of those pencil lines. So, alright. So I accidentally cut the diagonal the wrong way. No big deal. Alright. So now I'm going to place my tail like so. And now I can put that arm right over that line so it looks like the tail is right behind that arm. So now we're going to draw the head. Now if you need to grab more white paper like I just did, you can grab another piece to draw the head. We're going to end up drawing this like as almost a diamond, but it's going to have really curved edges. So and think about, you want about 4 fingers or more in it. But you don't want it to take up your whole space. You want it to not be huge. You want it to look like it belongs on your animal's body. So, like here, I'll have my skeleton sitting here so that I can kind of gauge my size. So I'm going to first kind of start out here with that rounded, like letter V. And I'm going to start to curve these here and make another letter V, but have it be rounded at the bottom. And you can always kind of like check if you think that looks about like the right size, and then cut it out. And again, you can always recut another one, or if it ends up being a little bit on the big side, you can always trim it down, make it a little smaller. So I think that is a good size for the most part. I'm just going to trim here a little bit so that's not as long. And I'm going to make sure I glue on my pencil side. Press that down. You can just have it touch right at the shoulders. If it overlaps a little bit or there's some space like this one, that's fine too. So our next step is finishing up our tail by getting those little bones, and they are very similar to the ones that we did here for our ribs and spine. And then the ears, they're just going to be these little circles. So if you're doing a cat, you'll kind of make it in like that letter V upside down. If you're doing like a dog, it would come kind of in almost like a U. So to have those little circles, I like to just look at whatever scraps you have, fold them up, and you're just going to cut. You can draw the circles or you can do them by freehand like I'm doing. You just want to cut some small circles out. And I would say if you're doing a cat, like 5 for the ear is good. You may need like a couple more if you're doing a dog, and I'll do a dog on here so you can kind of see both. So you can see how the 5 are arranged in that triangle. So I'm going to start here to kind of lay them out for the one ear for the dog so you can kind of see how that would go. So I'm going to start here, and I'm going to leave a little bit of space here. So kind of like in a more of a U shape. Closer to the body. So I'm only going to do the one ear for the video, so we're not sitting here watching me forever. But we would just glue down here our little circles. Okay, and we keep on doing that. And then I'm going to show you how to do the little lines here for the tail. Again, you're just going to draw those ovals. And I would say about 5 or 6 is good. And they can all be roughly the same size, and about like a pencil's width is good. And you can cut them out. Alright, so now I'm just going to place them on my tail. Make sure I put the glue on the pencil side down. I'm going to leave a little bit of space in between each one. And if your tail gets a little thicker at some spots, you might discover you need it to make one that's a little longer. So like here, this one may not, this one may, I may need to make a little longer. Oh, it fits. So now, that won't stick that well. And it's a little short, so I'm just going to cut out another one. Alright, so let's see. There we go, that's a little bit better. And you can go further down like I did on this one. If you want to leave it where you've got a little bit more space, that's okay too. Your next step is to draw your eyes for your animal. So we're going to draw like a rounded square, and it's going to be kind of big. And it's going to be up here. This is that eye socket for the skeleton of the skull of your dog or cat. And then you're going to come down here and draw like a triangle pointed down, but these edges are going to be rounded. They're not going to be pointy. And you can come down and make like a little smile, even though yes, really in skeletons we wouldn't really see this. Yeah, this is more of like a design, just for that skull to be more like the Day of the Dead. Now if you're making a dog, I would not add these two vertical lines. That's to kind of accentuate more of a cat-like nose. And there's our basic skeleton. We'll talk later more of how to decorate it like the Day of the Dead.